is it easy? Like level 1 and level 2 are easier than. Can you talk a little bit about the subjects that one has to study? Let's talk about the fields or the roles that open up for me after completing L2, like level 2, and after getting the charter holder.
I think if you want me to name a few firms who are more than happy to hire CFAs,
The earning potential after L2, after L3, when you have a charter holder, all the roles that you've mentioned, किसमें सबसे ज़्यादा earning potential है? कौन से role में? Is it fund manager जो है, after spending couple of years in the industry, they can easily in 1 crore. Some portfolio managers in India, they're earning 5 to 6 crores. So is that possible for CFA also? या फिर is MBA the only route for me to reach that number? The average salary of a CFA in US is approximately $180,000 per year. Hey everyone, welcome to the Curious Podcast. आज के पॉडकास्ट की इतनी रिक्वेस्ट आई है मेरे पास कि CFA के ऊपर वीडियो करो, CFA के ऊपर वीडियो करो. So finally we have a very special and sweet guest with us, Shivani Saraugi. So Shivani is a CFA charter holder and a certified FRM. She has over 8 years of experience by working in the industry and is currently working as a senior associate in Microfinance Private Limited. Welcome to the show, Shivani. How are you feeling today?
thank you so much, Pooja, for such a lovely introduction. I feel great and I'm really excited to be here. I hope whatever little knowledge I have and whatever my experience has been is going to be helpful to your, viewers here.
Little to mat bolo. 8 years is a like long time to be in the industry, to be part of it and gain so much of exposure. But yeah, so today's main discussion will be around CFA for CFAs, students who are pursuing CFA or who are thinking कि मुझे ये pursue करना है. So we want to lay the groundwork for them, give them the reasons why they should pursue and what is the potential that they have after qualifying, right? So this is what the main theme is about. But I always start with the first principles, the basics. So tell us, what is a CFA? What does he or she do? And like, what is it all about?
So, yes, Pooja, I think if I have to put it really simply, a chartered financial analyst, who is a CFA, is someone जो काफी integrate. It's a very integrated financial management course for somebody who's involved in the investment and portfolio management side.
Hmm.
So, for example, if you see roles across an equity analyst or a wealth manager or a portfolio manager, that's the kind of things a CFA would do. So, for example, when you look at businesses, HNI clients and businesses, आपको portfolio management services provide करनी पड़ती है. Like one of the things today, if I work with you and you come to me, Shivani, as a CFA, how would you suggest my portfolio should look like? I'll sit with you, analyze your entire financials, your needs, and then come to a conclusion. Okay, this is what your portfolio should look like. That's the role of a CFA. We do it at an individual level. We do it at a professional level for businesses, even HNI clients. Then there's a lot of roles that come across for an equity analyst. So आप जो ये reports पढ़ते हो कि an analyst has rated a company as a buy or a sell, that's the kind of job we would do to understand how a company is performing, deep dive into their financials, their debts, their businesses, and see how the company would perform in the long run. Would I give it a buy rating? Is it a good hold for a person? Would I have it as a portfolio for an HNI client? Would I put it across as a would I onboard it? Would I onboard this fund manager on my platform? So, deep diving into these sectors, understanding all the derivatives that come with it, the risks that come with it, I think this is the role of a CFA to very simply put it. Of course, it goes into a lot of nitty-gritties here, but if I don't deep dive further, I think very simply, this is what a CFA would do.
I think very technical job, very at the same time very hands-on, wherein you can't really understand whatever goes in the industry just by studying, right? Just by you can understand the themes and the patterns and the ways to do all that work that you'll be required to do, but like really technical stuff. I'll come back to this question wherein I want to talk about कि क्या career options open up हो जाते हैं once I clear CFA. But before that, walk me through the journey or the steps of becoming a CFA. Like, as far as I know, there is level 1, there is level 2, level 3. Apart from that, you tell us, like, in detail, what is there? ऐसा बोलते हैं कि लेवल 1 और लेवल 2 तो बहुत आसान होता है, कुछ लोग तो लेवल 2 तक भी कर देते हैं, फिर आगे करते नहीं है। सो you heard all these rumors and I'm pretty sure
Absolutely.
स्टूडेंट्स भी जो ये पॉडकास्ट सुन रहे होंगे उन्होंने भी सुन रखे होंगे। सो ब्रेक दोज myths and tell us the journey actually.
तो हाँ, आई थिंक आई ऑल्सो हैड लॉट ऑफ पीपल रीच आउट टू मी कि लेवल 2 कर लिया, अब क्या हो गया, क्या एग्जाम और नहीं देना है, बट इट इजंट दैट. सी, there's a reason, there's a structure to a course. Yes, there are 3 levels. I remember the time I gave it, which is about 5 years back. So
Hmm.
we would have the option to take the exam twice in a year. I think they've changed the structure. It is about 4 times a year, especially for level 1. I'm not really sure about this. But
Hmm.
yes, so I think the process is you have 3 levels. It's a level 1, 2, and 3. The Now, to break this myth, no, you cannot stop at level 2. You have
Hmm.
to realize CFA are like the building blocks, okay? So you have to, CFA level 3 curriculum builds entirely on your level 1 and level 2 curriculum. It's a lot of practical application of what you've done in your 1 and 2. कल को आपने theory पढ़ ली, 1 में formula सीख लिए, concept समझ लिया. How do you know where to apply it? You will not have this top block till you don't reach there. तो ठीक है, मुझे पता है ये formula है, ये concept है, but मैं इसको apply कैसे करूँ? कहाँ करूँ?
Got it.
That is what level 3 teaches you. It's very practical. Level 1 and 2 are really solid foundation blocks. They build on each other.
Hmm.
And if I break down the structure, 3 levels probably happens twice a year or 4 times a year. They have changed the structure very recently.
Hmm.
These are MCQ level questions. The level
Okay.
3 does involve small essay questions.
Okay.
But I think the course is beautifully structured. It is very integrated. They keep on building on your concepts and it gives you such a solid foundation.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, one myth, nahi, you need to finish it. I think you can start it in the final year of your college. You can sit for your first level. So, yeah, you can sit for your level 1 exam, I think, in the final year of your college. Then you can take the level 2. I did it while I was working. I had a full-time job at EY
Okay.
while I was doing this. So, no, it really isn't difficult or easy. I think it's about how you like the subject. I fell in love with the concepts they had. I come from a pure economics background. I'm not a CA. I didn't have the background for it.
Hmm.
But I think they are so beautifully taught in the subject that I think आप अपने आप ही you reach there.
Hmm.
Level 1, level 2, and level 3, you can finish them in 3 years or probably sooner, depending on the structure, which they keep changing.
Hmm.
To become a charter holder, you need to clear all the 3 levels and have 4 years of minimum work experience to be able to apply for a charter. Till you do not have a charter, you're not eligible to use the designation of a CFA next to your name. You can just talk about the fact that you are a CFA level 3 pass out. You've cleared CFA level 3,
Hmm.
but you cannot have the designation.
Got
So I think, yeah, that's another myth कि कर लिया तो अपने आप को CFA बोल सकते हैं. I have been on the side of it to bear this brunt. So नहीं, you have to have a minimum work experience. But yes, you do start exploring career options post level 1 and 2, which is why I think the myth comes कि भाई level 2 कर लिया तो job मिल गई तो मैं छोड़ देता हूँ.
Hmm.
But there's always a missing piece, the growth, the knowledge doesn't fit in. There's a
Hmm.
piece that keeps missing. So I think that's why I think you need to finish all the 3 levels.
Got it. I think you've opened up two tangents for me to talk about. Number one is you've talked about the MCQ type ka hai level 1 or level 2. Level 3 is descriptive plus MCQ, as I've heard. Uh, is it easy? Like level 1 and level 2 are easier than level 3, or is it that the level of difficulty it increases? And also compare it with the other courses that are there. Like there is CA. I'm sure like thoda bahut to aapko idea hoga because you're from the industry, so you must have come across CA, CS, etc. All sort of people in the finance background. So you must have heard their reviews also. Give us a brief idea कि कितना difficult है. Should I be not afraid, or should I be like over prepared to tackle this exam?
I don't think there's anything key difficult, okay? Because if I have to compare it to a CA,
Hmm.
I think that CA is a very obvious choice in the industry, and CFAs come up recently. So people have a myth around the fact that it is difficult, but I think it also depends a lot where you come from. A lot of subjects that I studied were something that were not from my field. I mean, economics was a subject and वो ही मुझे आता था. That's all I knew about the whole section.
Hmm.
But if I talk about a CA, for example, there's a subject on financial analysis, which a CA would be able to pick up very easily, which I took a long time to,
Oh,
get to the base of it. So I
right.
spent a lot of time there. I think it's also about where you come from. And from an exam perspective, I don't think level 3 was tougher, except the fact that the MCQs, yes, you have to be very mindful because वो इस तरीके से question structure होते हैं that you're not even sure कि A और B तो eliminate कर दिया अब C D में क्या करूँ मैं? Like you can eliminate, we're always stuck between two options there.
Hmm.
But the descriptive questions were not the problem. It was about fitting it in those two sentences within the time. That's the only thing that requires practice.
Hmm.
Because you are used to you finish college when you're doing CFA. You've just finished college. You are
Right.
used to writing long essays in college. जितना लंबा लिखो उतने marks मिलते थे college में length पे.
हाँ,
Here
come
you
from
have
that
to make
background. सीधे
exactly.
भरो.
So मेरे साथ भी यही हुआ था तो आई वाज लाइक भाई लंबा लंबा आंसर्स लिखना है तभी तो मार्क्स मिलेंगे लेंथी और
Right.
दी आंसर तो वो तो मार्क्स टीचर से लेंथ पे देती है बट in fact what happens is the challenge that comes is and that's the only place you require a lot of practice is to actually write there's a box to write the answer. I don't know if they've changed it to online now. I had a box. I had a paper pen exam
Hmm.
एंड उस बॉक्स में आपको अपना आंसर फिट करना है उस बॉक्स में फिट नहीं हुआ तो एनी वर्ड आउटसाइड इज नॉट गोइंग टू बी चेक.
Oh.
It has to fit in that box. Your answer has to be there and there's a time कि इस सारे टाइम तो आप दोगे तो यू नो कि आपके सब अटेम्प्ट भी नहीं होंगे क्वेश्चंस.
So each question has its own time limit.
No, there's a time limit for the paper, but you have
Okay.
to divide it because if you invest too much time in one answer, you know you're going to miss out. It has to be very strategically planned.
Correct.
So that is where the challenge for level 3 came in, which people, I think, the myth around it is कि बहुत difficult है, conceptually नहीं है. Like I keep telling you, if you've done your level 1 into level 3 curriculum is a breeze. It's a building block.
Hmm.
But the challenge that people face is कि उसको लिखूं कैसे. Concept आता है, verbally मैं explain कर सकती हूँ. लिखने का problem आता है. Which is why I think people assume that it is tougher, but that's not the case.
So how long did you take to complete CFA? Because I think this will give an idea कि while you're working, you can easily manage CFA also. So how long did it take for you to complete all the three levels and हर level पे कितना time लगा?
So when I was giving the exams, there was an option to attempt the exam twice in a year.
Hmm.
मैंने अपना लेवल 1, 2 एंड 3 तीनों जून अटेम्प्ट में दिया था जूनियर आई थिंक जूनियर जुलाई था every
Hmm.
year and I cleared them together at once. So I would say 2 years. Like 2017 June I gave my first exam, then
Hmm.
18 and then 19.
Hmm.
So
So like
I level 1 in June 18, level 2 in June 17, level 2 in June 18, level 3 in June 19.
every year. So kind of like in a way 3 years हो गया ना because
3 years हो गए, yes, because I was filling FRM in my gaps.
हाँ.
In the
But
remaining
you
6 months,
could have done earlier also had you not been doing FRM.
हाँ मतलब I think by the time the results come out, the time to attempt it within the same year was too short to prepare because I had a job going on because they give out dulls in August. So between then and the next attempt, the time was too short for me. And also I was looking at FRM and I had a job. But I could have done it faster. And I
Hmm.
believe the curriculum post revision does allow you to reattempt within 6 months. So I think there's a flexibility that have opened up right now. So I
हाँ.
think this is very clearly given on the website. I think it's so nicely given. I don't think any student after opening the website can have a doubt on the structure. It's so nicely presented about the timelines. And
Hmm.
yes, um, my journey. So the website, I think a lot of people have asked me this that there's a statement on the website that you need to study 300 hours.
हाँ.
ये बहुत जगह and I think a lot of places this is promoted कि 300 घंटे पढ़ने ही पड़ेंगे.
Hmm.
So I was never the kind of student जो time bound. I couldn't study time bound. I didn't even have a flexibility to study time bound with a job. And from my school, college, I never had a time bound way of studying.
Hmm.
So a mentor, more about the person who encouraged me to pursue CFA, his golden advice, which I will like to share. It
Hmm.
doesn't matter if you study 300 hours more or less. Only finish your curriculum thrice before the exam. That's all. It's going to be very easy because by the time you reach the third time, you will realize your exams are near, your notes are all ready, you're just skimming through the pages. You will not have to sit and read the third time. That's what I did in all my three exams. I would prepare before work at 6 a.m. I would prepare at 12 a.m. at night. I didn't have a schedule around that, but I made it a point that whether I give 200, 250 hours or 300 plus, I made sure to finish my curriculum thrice before every exam.
Hmm.
In fact, all my exams, yes, I made sure, even the level 3 curriculum, I made sure to do it thrice. And the CFA Institute mocks are great practice questions, have great practice questions. In
Hmm.
fact, when I was talking to you about the level 3 problem that, if you fit your answers, the mocks are the best place to do a time bound practice. The mocks will give you such a nice platform to do a time bound practice that it'll be really easy for you to actually structure your answers and know what to write, which made the exam easier, maybe.
Hmm.
So I think, yeah, that's the only prep strategy. Just finish your curriculum three times before the exam. That's it.
That's a powerful advice because, and to be honest, this doesn't work. This not only just work for CFA, but I think it works for pretty much any competitive exam, right? Like you have to be thorough with the syllabus, the curriculum, at least thrice. You can do more if you're like seeking a rank or something. But yeah, three times with you, usually you'll be able to crack the exam for sure. This is what I've been hearing in my CA as well. This is the same, you know, advice that
Absolutely.
you're also sharing. So felt nostalgic. But okay. So the other tangent that I was talking about
Yeah.
was the kind of students that are able to clear this exam faster or are able to pick up the subjects better or are able to perform better. Although like it's more related to finance, so it's kind of expected कि commerce stream का बच्चा इसमें ज़्यादा होगा. But I've seen engineers do extremely well in CFA, and I've seen a lot of uh, people around me coming from engineering background nailing CFAs like in first attempt, and so that's something that I've observed. But you are from the industry, you've been part of this curriculum for a really long time now. So you tell me what's the notion out there. Is it true that like engineers also do extremely well, or is it that students from commerce background have an edge over others?
So I think I do not come from a commerce or an engineering background, and I'm
Hmm.
sitting here in front of you. So that does bust another myth that nahi, it is not only reserved for commerce people or engineers. But yes, I think for engineers, I've also observed this. A lot of engineers looking to move into the finance field,
Hmm.
and when they're unsure कि MBA जाए या नहीं जाए, a CFA gives them a great exposure.
Hmm.
I think the reason they do so well, their quant section is so solid that picking up the basics is really easy for them. Though I've
Hmm.
seen them struggle around subjects like equity finance and equity and corporate finance and derivatives maybe. But once they know the concept, the maths part of it is so easily taken care of for them.
Hmm.
So I think that does give them an edge. Also, I think engineers do have that thought in their mind ki let's explore finance. It's a very good place to start stepping into finance.
Hmm.
So that's there. For commerce, again, I would tell you the same thing that for a CA, a lot of subjects come just like that. Especially the level one subjects are so like my friends when we were studying together in CA, I would struggle at a different subject, which they
Hmm.
were like, ये तो हो ही गया इसमें तो time ही नहीं देना है हमें. This is like a breeze for us. So
Right.
I think it also depends on your background, but no, this is not reserved for commerce people. I
Or
think it
hmm.
gives you such a nice platform to explore finance because you can do this while working. You don't have to
Hmm.
leave a job. An engineer can continue working, or CA can continue working just to decide if they want to spend time and they want to move to a finance field. Does investment banking, wealth management interest them? पता कैसे चलेगा?
Hmm.
without either you switch your jobs, but this gives them a great platform to get into it.
Hmm.
But I
Right.
think in the industry, CFAs that I have interacted with,
Hmm.
mm, at least I've seen a lot of them come from a BCom CA background because a CFA CA combination has given them a lot of edge to understand all the complexities of finance.
Right.
A CA would probably look at the balance sheet and validate its authenticity. And a
Hmm.
CFA, having the CFA knowledge would help him analyze it better. So I think it's such a great combination to have, and it
Right.
balances out so well together that it expands so many options for you. So it just gives you a lot of avenues to find your area of interest. So while
Right.
there is a larger chunk of commerce backgrounds, I don't think there's a myth around engineers and non-commerce people not doing it.
Hmm. Right. And one more thing that I'd like to pitch in here is people like after completing let's just say BCom degree, तो क्या होता है कि अगर आप corporate world में जाते हो तो it becomes after a few years in the industry it becomes a little harder for you to progress or climb that hierarchical ladder. That's where a lot of people like pursue the complex degree that is CFA or they'll choose MBA. MBA given like the rising cost of pursuing an MBA in India as well as abroad. मैंने तो लाइक फ्रेंड के साथ पॉडकास्ट किया तो वो बोलती बाहर तो 1 करोड़ लगता है एमबीए को करने के लिए इंडिया
Starting,
में भी हाँ
starting, starting
स्टार्टिंग
है वो
इंडिया में भी लाइक अगर आप अच्छे कॉलेज में जाना चाहते हो 30-40 lakhs is something
minimum.
whereas if
Yeah.
I look at CFA I think it's much more cheaper still gives you that level of exposure to excel in the finance career so that's where I think that's the beauty of this course. What would you like to say on this?
I think, yeah, the beauty of this course is also the fact that you want to climb the corporate ladder, but for an MBA, you have to leave your job. आपको
Hmm.
1 साल या 2 साल जॉब छोड़नी पड़ती है.
Hmm.
And of course, an MBA would give you a holistic perspective, but a lot of people have to outweigh the pros and cons and see what works for them. Like for me,
Hmm.
when I was doing it, I didn't find the need to leave my job. A lot of people they want to move to finance without having to leave their jobs for 2 years. There's an opportunity cost that comes into it.
Correct.
So आप CFA करते करते आप अपना job करो, and a lot of opportunities that came to me personally later came because of my CFA. My
Hmm.
first switch happened in the corporate world after I finished my CFA because that's what they were looking for. So I
Hmm.
think 2 साल छोड़ के जाओ, come back. So, you're away from the corporate world for 2 years. And yes,
Hmm.
cost, India, I think it's rising. It's gone, at least a post-work experience, 1 year MBAs have gone to 30, 40 lakhs at least, like you said.
आराम से.
I think from a fees perspective also, what happens is for the CFA, average exam fee would be $900 plus there's a registration fee. So how CFA structures it is, you pay a standard registration fee and then for every exam, there's an early, standard, and late registration option. So the fees keeps changing. So
Hmm.
even if we take an average of 900, I think आपका 2.5-3 lakh रुपए में your entire CFA is done. 2.5 to 3 lakhs compared to a
Hmm.
30 lakh is a
Right.
good bet or a good risk to take if you really want to venture into the field without having to quit your job because a lot of people cannot afford to move.
Absolutely.
And even on a rising trend, what I've seen is India is really ambitious for MBAs because a lot of corporates want an MBA, but
Yeah.
I know this. So yeah, a lot of corporates are like, हमें MBA चाहिए. We can't promote people without MBAs or MBA is like the only mandatory thing. But lately, a lot of finance and investment related, like the financial services roles for MBAs, if you look at the job description, they will say MBA slash CFA. They've started
Hmm.
recognizing the degree that, okay, if we talk from a financial perspective, an MBA and CFA might just bring the same thing to us. It doesn't have
True.
the branding of an IIM, but it has a CFA who has a more integrated course in finance and they're bringing the same knowledge to us.
Hmm.
Maybe not for marketing or a business operation, but for finance, a lot of places have started noticing. Even in the organizations I have worked, I've seen so many CFAs around me that they've realized that there's a demand that's increasing for people. So,
Hmm.
when you're there and you're growing, it just makes it very easy for you to understand what to expect next. And you
Hmm.
can start applying what you're learning while learning it. You don't have to wait to come back to start working.
Right.
So I think
That
that really works.
that's a great insight, Shivani, because वो जो आपने बोला ना कि हाँ MBA slash CFA, a lot of people don't realize कि times are changing and now very soon maybe like the charm that MBA was or used to have, maybe slowly it'll come at par with professions which are bringing the same kind of knowledge and expertise to the table. So great insight there. एक और चीज मैं बोलना चाहूंगी यहाँ पे, जैसे आपने वो बोला ना while you're working you can continue with your CFA. So I've seen, especially if you're working in a finance oriented organization, what they'll do is they'll sponsor your CFA, which means you won't even have to pay that 2 to 3 lakhs because it will be sponsored by your employer. But they'll
Right.
retain you for sure. I mean, obviously, if they're
Then
spending money on you, they want to retain you for a longer period of time. So that's something that I've observed in the finance circles or the companies like these accounting and financial advisory firms like Big Fours. So they sponsor their employees' education also, which is also a great thing.
I think the time when I was working at a Big Four, they
Hmm.
weren't sponsoring CFAs back then.
Okay.
Because I think Big Fours are still big on CAs. A lot of departments are more than happy to take CFAs in though. I mean, especially the departments, I think beyond audit, now they're very happy to have CFAs.
True.
But yes, later organizations I've observed, the ones I've moved to after my Big Four, that yes, they are willing to sponsor a lot of professional certifications, including a CFA. They retain you. There is a clause of a year usually, which differs from organization to organization.
Hmm.
And there's a amount, fixed amount that they're willing to sponsor if you clear the exam. Usually, that's the case. But yes, a lot of, especially investment banking firms, are more than happy to sponsor you so that they can continue working with you.
Right. That's a great thing, I think. अच्छी बात है कि हमने इसके बारे में बात कर लिया, because students like especially वो student जो अभी अपनी BCom कर रहा है, कुछ कर रहा है, उसको आइडिया ही नहीं है कि ऐसा भी कुछ होता है. But if you have the right knowledge, you can at least like go and maybe talk to your employer also that, I'm planning to do this, discuss with them. Because a lot of people I've seen, they hide what they're doing education wise from their employer. क्योंकि they have like fear कि how will you manage both, and their manager or the senior will
Right.
not be supportive of it. But times are changing, guys.
Times are changing, and I think just understanding the policy, and they're more than happy to encourage you because उन्हें पता है कि you are here for a year. Of course, it
Hmm.
has to be a two-way street. You are here for a year. You are contributing, and you're happy that you're learning. Well, you can
Correct.
actually do your course, and you're not paying for it. In fact, just to add here, beyond the employers, the CFA Institute also does provide some sponsorships, for which I think you need to reach out to them on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
But so I think there's an option to avail the sponsorship for the exam, and there are criteria for it, of course. And I think people can look it up because a lot of time people are like, nahi, matlab, of course, it is not easy for everybody to do it. And then you realize कि nahi, matlab, sponsorship होने से हो जाए, and employers don't do it. Like when I was in Big Four, they didn't do it. But the
Right.
CFA Institute does offer sponsorships. So I think that's something also people wanting to, at least people who are interested in the course should like at least look at this option.
Hmm. Right. Um, can you talk a little bit about the subjects that one has to study throughout CFA? You've given me an idea that you have to, like, there is heavy quant, there is financial management. What are the other subjects? Just give us an idea ताकि वो एक, you know, assess कर पाए कि okay, these are the subjects that I have to study.
So I'm not going to scare anybody, but there are 10 subjects you need to study. So I think one of the most important subjects would be ethics. लोग ignore करते हैं, मैंने भी किया. But this is an advice, please do not ignore. It's a very important subject. It's tougher than it sounds. You have to read the standard, you have to know what's written where. Other than that, I think the 9 subjects revolve around there's a quantitative subject, I believe. Yeah, there's a quantitative subject which revolves a lot around, for example, things like probability, hypothesis testing. Then there is a financial analysis that I was telling you about, which deals entirely with accounting standards, cash flows, balance sheets, analysis, ratio analysis. In fact, the fixed income equity analysis is a huge part of this. There's economics, which deals entirely with your macro and microeconomics. Then there's a subject, corporate finance, which talks entirely about it goes into the details of corporate finance in the sense it talks about capital budgeting, cost of capital. So these are things I think a lot of people from a BCom background would be aware of. At least उन्हें पता होगा ये terms क्या होते हैं. So corporate finance is a field people might know. Then corporate finance deals with the broader subject. There are two smaller subjects called equity and fixed income, which deep dive into these two. There is something on alternative investment, which goes into talk about hedge funds, private equity, venture capital, just to give you a taste of it. Because there's a whole course on an alternative investment certification. But just to get a sense of what is it, मतलब equity सबको पता होता है कि trading होती है, equity लोग जानते हैं. So CFA gives you that taste. Okay, there is something beyond equity and derivatives known as alternative investments, which talks about hedge funds, PE, and
Correct.
VCs. And then there are two more subjects. I think there's a derivative subject, which deals entirely with futures, options, swaps. And I believe this is a great subject because I have lately seen this trend of people walking into the market and there's so like the kind of inflow that's happening in the stock market right now. I think understanding these kind of technical analysis is so important. So these are great subjects to have. And the level three, like the level one and two touch upon it, but level three has a broader subject called portfolio management, which builds on all of this. Of course, there might be a little bit of reshuffling within the subtopics. They keep altering the subjects, but these are the broader contexts. So I think it builds an entire understanding. You understand the economics of it, you go into the corporate finance side of a business, you understand the equity, fixed incomes from a market perspective, the derivatives. Beyond this, what are the available investment options? And then they teach you, okay, sab sikha diya. Ab let's build a portfolio out of this. This is exactly what I was telling you in the initial conversation, like the start of our conversation, ki level 3 क्यों important hai. You've learned it. How do you use this to actually build a portfolio? That's where it comes in.
मतलब like all the pieces of puzzle are finally going to make sense in level 3 because वो concept याद है, वो formulas याद है, but किस context में use करना है, कैसे वो पूरे process apply करके
Exactly.
portfolio manage होगा, that's what you learn
मुझे
in level.
कॉस्ट ऑफ इक्विटी निकालना आता है कल को बट हाउ डू आई पुट इट आई मीन व्हाट डू आई डू विद दैट इंफॉर्मेशन मैं करूँ क्या उसके साथ
True,
so I've
true.
learned it but to be able to actually apply this learning and what do I do with this learning that's what it comes in together.
So I think that's what the beauty of CFA course truly is, that you learn the application of the stuff that you're learning in the course itself, which is quite rare because like हम और भी curriculums देखते हैं, no offense but CA में भी कहीं ना कहीं ये होता है कि theory अलग है, but when you go and see like how the real world works, it's like two different ball games. So although
I
there
think
is training,
सब जगह ही ऐसे हो जाता है CFS
हाँ,
try to bridge the gap because उनका level 1 is just to introduce you to concepts, level 2 will deep dive into it, teach you the valuation, level 3 will bring out a practical application of it. So they just like try to structure it in a better way so that you know you actually understand कि ठीक है if I need to apply it I know where can I apply it, and I think that also gives you a sense of okay these are the kind of things I'm interested in. When you're studying portfolio management or equity, you will know कि मेरे को इसमें interest आ रहा है. So that gives you a lot of clarity on the kind of career you want to build out of a CFA. कर लिया course, but I don't know मुझे करना क्या आगे. But
right.
you've studied so much and you looked at the practicality of these things. So it just makes it easier for a student. Like when I was doing it, I was like, okay, what part of this do I want to pick up? So I picked up wealth management because that's what interested me. So I think you can pick up what do you like. It just makes it easier for you to pick up things कि मुझे ये चीज़ ज़्यादा interest कर रही है. So that's the beauty of this course. It's so beautifully structured, and that's why it is such an integrated course that you know gives you so much इन डेप्थ नॉलेज ऑफ फाइनेंस कि आपको अब पता है कि हाउ टू प्रोसीड फ्रॉम हियर.
Let's talk about the fields or the roles that open up for me after completing L2, like level 2, and after getting the charter holder. जैसे कि हमने सुना है कि अरे लेवल 2 के बाद ही आपकी जॉब तो लगी जाती है, but like you mentioned, you stressed upon that point that hey, do complete level 3 also because that's going to take your CFA knowledge to a different level. But tell me the roles that open up for me after क्लियरिंग लेवल 2 एज वेल एज लेवल 3। जैसे आपने बताया कि पोर्टफोलियो मैनेजमेंट में आप जा सकते हो, वेल्थ मैनेजमेंट में आप जा सकते हो, consulting, you've been part of consulting as well. Talk to me about the different fields that open up.
So I think a lot of roles are very common, but
Hmm.
there is a difference that comes in the sense कि for example say a equity analyst role वो आपको शायद level 1 के बाद भी मिल जाए because you've started understanding the basics of equity analysis.
Hmm.
But a portfolio management role will not open to you initially because you
Hmm.
need to know it in a lot more depth and you need to understand how to actually build a portfolio.
Hmm.
So a variety of roles open up, honestly. You can move to investment banking, you can move to wealth management roles. I have done consulting, I have done private equity,
Hmm.
I've even done wealth management. So
Hmm.
for me, all of this did open up. But I think it is also a matter of which area you're interested in. I have
Hmm.
seen people become traders because they've understood their equities, fixed income, and
Hmm.
derivatives really well. I have seen portfolio managers.
Hmm.
So a multitude of roles honestly open up. All of these investment banks would be more than happy to have you. A lot of hedge
Hmm.
funds, a lot of private equity funds are
Hmm.
happy to have you. So I think yeah, these are the kind of roles that open up. There's no end to it, and I think it also brings consulting opens up anywhere. I think if you want me to name a few firms who are more than happy to hire CFAs, I think investment banking, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, then
Hmm.
even asset management firms like a BlackRock or a Vanguard. They'll be happy. Financial firms, Credit Suisse, UBS. These are the kind
Hmm.
of firms that will be interested to have you after the CFA. So, like I said, an equity analyst role will open up to you after level 1, 2, and 3, both, all three. But a portfolio manager, investment banking roles, the kind of knowledge you need, you might get there at a lower level, but they will encourage, you will see this that the employer will encourage you to finish it because they know that the quality of learning you can have post and the work you do is going to be so different. So, they want to encourage you to finish it.
Hmm.
In fact, my role at a wealth management company did have two CFAs as my manager. They are the ones who did my recommendation for my charter. So yes, I realized that this is the kind of role I got into. I was doing due diligence for mutual funds and hedge funds, and I was working with a team of CFAs. In fact, my onshore counterparts based out of US and UK were also CFAs. So this is just an example of a role that you can have. But I think a lot of these companies are like encouraging CFAs now because they understand that you can also, I think the advantage that comes is because they know you can complete it while working, they don't have to wait for 2 years for you for an MBA or a year. So another reason why they'll probably hire you after L1, but they'll want you to finish the remaining. So I think that's there.
Now I want to talk about the earning potential, because at the end of the day, if you're getting into a career, you want to understand the earning potential कि कितना कमा सकते हैं हम। एक वो aspirational value रहती है कि हाँ, this is what I'll be able to earn, and uh, because money is a motivator, right? At the end of the
Of
day.
course.
Talk to me a little bit about the earning potential after L2, after L3, when you have a charter holder, and then like, what is that like potential that you can reach after qualifying? I mean, obviously, sky is the limit, but still, give me a number, motivate the audience listening to this.
Yeah, so I think the only sad part here is a lot of companies want to give you a hike on your last draw, which becomes difficult because you're working and studying. So when you complete your CFA also, there's a problem. But I see a
Hmm.
starting after level 1 for my colleagues. In fact, now when I have spent some time in the industry and I see a lot of younger people pursuing it, I
Hmm.
see a starting at after level 1 at about 10 lakhs on an average.
Hmm. Okay.
And I've seen earning potentials for charter holders or level 3 holders go to around 35, 40 lakhs also.
Okay.
So I think it is a very, don't hold me accountable to these numbers.
Hmm.
I think it is a culmination of a lot of things. You have to see the kind of backgrounds you come from, what you bring to the table. I could
Hmm.
be a charter holder with a completely different kind of background. I could have done my CFA while working as an engineer in a manufacturing company. But yes, the earning potential, though lower, still has been growing up. The potential, the quality of jobs that come to CFAs, the kind of money they are getting paid has actually gotten better since the time I completed it.
Hmm.
I finished it in 2019. It's
Hmm.
24, we're talking 2024, 5 years, and I've seen the salary numbers go up quite a bit. So,
Hmm.
and I think this field is something now I understand people might be a little demotivated कि pass percentages कम हो रहे हैं, we can come back to it.
Hmm.
But it's also because the quality of education that it brings is really niche. So yes,
Hmm.
the salary numbers are going up. These are numbers I've recently seen around me at my colleagues. Of
Hmm.
course, the numbers will change basis your industry, your role. Are you working in an investment bank? Are you working at a private boutique firm? These
Hmm.
are kind of numbers I think I've seen on an average. I'm
Okay.
going to talk at the lower end so as to not upset anybody if they don't get this. If they get something higher, I want them to be happier.
Hmm. But like of all the roles that you've mentioned, किसमें सबसे ज़्यादा like earning potential है? कौन से role में? Is it with IBs, यानी investment banks, or is it with private equities or VCs? Like
I think, of
where?
course, a private equity would have the a great or we see a private equity would have great earning potentials.
Okay.
But India made a very limited PEs, and
Uh,
the PEVC has not they've not ventured as much in India as you would have hoped.
hmm.
I think the limit is very less, but good asset management companies and IBs have great packages for CFAs.
Hmm. Okay.
So I think these are
And
the kind of roles people can aspire to start with, maybe, or if they have a great PE opportunity, I would have loved to be there. So
hmm.
I think if you find a great opportunity and it works for you, but yeah, I think these are the kind of companies that are more than happy to have you. They're the kind of money that pay the companies that pay good packages.
Hmm.
IB and asset management firms are a good place to begin with.
Hmm. Um, so like what's that जैसे ये तो starting का तो पता चल गया कि ठीक है 10 15 is something that you can easily start off with, and after L3 30 35 is something that you can aim for. But what after that, like जैसे मैंने लास्ट पॉडकास्ट आई थिंक एक इक्विटी फंड मैनेजर के साथ किया था. So he was telling me ki what's the entry and he was telling me what's the earning potential. So he told me ki like fund manager जो है after spending couple of years in the industry, they can easily in 1 crore. Some portfolio managers in India they are earning 5 to 6 crores. So is that possible for CFA also? या फिर is MBA the only route for me to reach that number? What should inspire me at this moment?
So I think if you want to venture into this field, I think it is possible. It requires a lot of work. Of course, the competition is higher. Your counterpart's always going to be an MBA, and
Hmm.
companies are still very strong on MBAs.
Hmm.
But even you can even become a fund manager, a portfolio manager, an equity analyst. Even their earning potential is great.
Hmm.
So I think the work is more, the competition is more because of MBAs, but there is a good earning potential to move up to those numbers. I am yet to get there, but I've seen a lot of my senior partners get there. I've seen that you have to spend enough time in the industry because whether you do an MBA or a CFA, after a couple of years, it's not your degree, it's the kind of
Right.
experience you bring.
Right.
So,
The
I
kind
mean,
of results you've generated, the kind of.
absolutely.
Hmm.
So, the project I was telling you about, because sometimes you get a lot of clientele just basis your experience and your designations. That
Right.
okay, we have enough CFAs and MBs on the team, I'm happy to work with them. So, I think it is a lot about the kind of work you generate, the relationships you build in the industry. बिकॉज एमबीए कर लिया जॉब ले लिया दूसरी जॉब भी ले ली तीसरी भी ले ली अब याद तो आपको रहेगा नहीं आपने क्या किया था एमबीए में डिटेल में even
Right.
today if I have to go to a topic that I'm not working about, like I am working in a different field, and if you want me to talk about something else, I have to open my books. So I think beyond a point, if you've actually used that knowledge of a CFA also, you can get to, there is enough earning potential to actually do this. I've seen a lot of people open their own fund houses. Like, people can actually move to opening their fund houses, become angel investors
Hmm.
because you actually know how to analyze a company after these. So MBAs भी करते हैं ये. So I think after a point, it is all about where you are, what you've done all these years. Have you actually used that knowledge? And if you
Hmm.
built on it well, I think the earning potential is definitely there. I'm
Hmm.
not going to put a number to it, but it is definitely there.
या मतलब मुझे बस इंस्पायर ही करना है कि लाइक यू आर गोइंग इन द राइट डायरेक्शन नोबडी शुड फील दैट ओके पता नहीं इसमें क्या अर्निंग पोटेंशियल है कैसे क्या है आई जस्ट वांट देम to get inspired by listening to this that okay this is possible this is doable people have done that and you can too right I think since we've spoken so much about that like competition with mbas uh, tell me a few incidences from your own life and your own experience wherein you felt like कि यार ये इंडिया में सही सीन नहीं है एमबीएस के साथ बहुत ज्यादा कंपटीशन हो रहा है even though like not without demeaning the efforts they put without demeaning their knowledge and everything but still talk to me about the experiences from your own life.
I think what happens is an MBA brings a tag with it, and CFA is still getting recognized. So
Hmm.
the branding is still, it's of course there,
Hmm.
but it is still growing. Whereas the MBA comes with a tag. So for example, when I was job hunting initially, and I was like, अच्छा ये तो MBA लिखा है, I'm not gonna get this job. And I was passed on. A lot of jobs, like I told you now, have an MBA slash CFA, and I have been passed on those jobs
Hmm.
because now you have everything, but you're looking for an MBA. I was like, but I do possess the skills you need, right?
Hmm.
So that was disheartening at that point, questioning my decisions, of course.
Hmm.
But I've realized that it's okay, it's a job. I still got to where I was. Of course, it took sometimes it takes longer. But I think the branding that comes with an MBA has still not been matched. Even I see CAs, engineers, everyone's going for an MBA at the end of the day. Because आप life में CA कर लो, CFA कर लो, engineering कर लो, people still want an MBA because of the branding. Like
Hmm.
Indian PE VCs are still very strong on MBAs.
Hmm.
Whereas it's not the same outside. The earning potential is more, and it is growing. And I'm glad. I mean, I love the fact that CFA has been branding itself so strongly. They're growing their presence. They want people to start signing up.
Ah.
In fact, the CFA website, like also, I think what happens is MBA colleges provide you placement opportunities,
Hmm.
campus placements.
Correct.
And a CFA has to do the groundwork on their own. So
Hmm.
today, when I'm working and I've finished my CFA, I have to figure out a way to move out of this role into a different role. I
Right.
have to brand my own self as a CFA.
Hmm.
So it can take longer. By then, MBA placement season comes, people have been picked up, there's no space for you.
Hmm.
But it's also great the fact that, if you look at the CFA India website, they actually keep posting so many job offers over there, openings with the kind of requirements they need,
Hmm.
and it actually is super helpful. I haven't gotten a couple of calls by applying on those websites.
Hmm.
So I think these are the two reasons there's a intense competition because sometimes you feel कि पढ़ा तो मैंने वो है finance में. Maybe of course there's a curriculum difference, but I have done a course just on finance. I
Hmm.
have the skills for this job. Why an MBA? And then I realize, okay, there's a lot of gap that comes in. Sometimes you want somebody to handle operations also, and I don't possess the holistic experience. But
Correct.
yes, I think now as a CFA, I can say that they've been growing. The community has been growing. There are
Hmm.
a lot of career fairs that happen. The website, they don't help with placements directly, but the website has enough job opportunities. If you keep searching, you're
Hmm.
gonna find something you like.
Hmm.
So I think that's the two distinguishing factors I have come across जो मेरे साथ हुआ है क्योंकि
Hmm.
especially when I was like and when I finished my CFA, COVID happened. So
Hmm.
for me, job hunt was an absolute pain. And yeah, I noticed this earlier. I'm glad the trends have changed in 5 years. I was looking up all of this, and I've realized the trends have changed. People are very happy to have CFAs. But yeah, I think it was really difficult. I hope it keeps changing. Still, sometimes I feel that between me and an MBA, they probably prefer an MBA.
That's actually disheartening also, given that
It is very.
like you're bringing the same things again, like without demeaning all the efforts they've put
Of
in.
course, it is
But yeah,
right. I still
particularly
keep
for
telling you it's a
your
very holistic course they've done.
right,
I know the
particularly
finance,
for your
they know
profession,
everything.
right? कि यार, I can do the same thing. I can just because like वो branding का tag नहीं है doesn't mean I'm not capable enough to.
Sometimes it's branding. Sometimes I think they want people with a more holistic understanding of businesses. And
Okay.
I think the grooming that comes. Also, the disadvantage here that happens is because you're not in college, you're not on campus. So the kind of networking you can do at an MBA, you have a huge peer network. The kind of grooming, the kind of personality development you go through when you're doing an MBA, that doesn't come so easily with a CFA. So I think that is another thing that lacks when you realize it. So there's a kind of effort, and I don't think you can not do it, but you have to put that effort yourself, which
Hmm.
people are not willing to. Like CFA societies, they keep hosting multiple webinars, live events that you can go to, their networking events that keep happening, their annual conferences. But I
Hmm.
think the effort to actually get out and go there is what we lack. I also didn't attend a lot of sessions for the longest time.
Hmm.
बट एमबीए आप कर रहे हो कैंपस तो या बाय डिफॉल्ट देयर आई मीन
Yeah.
आपको अटेंड करना ही पड़ेगा so I think these things when you miss and you start lacking this and you're not willing to put that extra effort yourself to fix it,
Hmm.
that's where the gap keeps extending. You know, the gap just becomes wider after a point. I
Hmm.
think there's a lot of work that you need to do on yourself and your profiling also after this. You have to build your brand, which is what people don't realize. They get busy. There's a job that's happening with CFA. People don't want to put the effort. They get lazy sometimes. I got lazy. So it's a lot of things that happen.
Hmm.
So I think it's a culmination of all of this, but I think this is what leads to the difference between a CFA and an MBA.
Hmm. Right. Uh, you've talked on multiple occasions ki, indirectly that CFAs are received better in like other countries abroad than in India. It's still growing. Uh, can you talk to me about this gap that is there and that and or can you put a hard number to it कि जैसे earning potential के point of view से ही are CFAs better paid in countries like US, UK, Europe, etc. Or versus what they're
Numbers. So this is
mm,
something I've spoken from personal experience because this is what I've seen my friends and my colleagues go through.
mm,
But I think from a number perspective, I wouldn't want to put something because even if you compare the salary of an MBA in India and abroad, it's hugely different. It's
mm,
vastly different, despite being from the same college.
mm,
But what I see is there they recognize because it's a US based institute, right? The CFA Institute.
yeah.
So the recognition and the branding is better. So I think
Mm,
that is what makes it easier for them to, be there in the market, in the industry. And India made the first, I think when I was doing it, I knew so few people doing it. And I had to like scout people, ki, theek hai, I need a study partner. And I don't know a lot of people doing it.
mm,
And now I hear a lot of people around me कि हाँ मुझे CFA pursue करना है. And I was like, okay, that's nice. And people reach out. So it's growing. And when I say growing, I don't mean the institute. I mean the people who are the awareness,
aware.
right?
True.
The awareness is growing.
Mm,
जैसे कि now you hear a lot of people in the BComs talking कि हाँ CFA करेंगे ये करेंगे. हमें तो पता ही बाद में चला था. Like
mm,
we found out a lot later, and probably people like my parents didn't even know what's a CFA.
mm,
I had to explain it to them कि ये होता है. They were like MBA ही तो कर लो. I was like नहीं अब सुनो मतलब this is what happens, right? Because everybody knows an MBA and a CA. And my dad being a lawyer, he was like तुम्हें CA नहीं करना है, law नहीं करना है, MBA नहीं करना है. Why are you picking up random new courses? They didn't know about this. But now I see people are being more aware. So, which is why I think now the growth also comes because there's a supply for it.
mm.
Of course, there is increased competition that comes with it. There's a
Pass percentages are also declined. मैंने पढ़ा कहीं पे.
हाँ मैंने भी पढ़ा है. I think it's
Because
also because
obviously
competition
the
बढ़ गया है.
हाँ द सेम रीजन पहले कंपटीशन कम होता था जो लिमिटेड लोग ही देते थे उसमें से पास
हाँ,
परसेंटेज ज्यादा होता था बट नाउ व्हेन यू सी लॉट ऑफ पीपल डूइंग इट देन द कंपटीशन obviously rises and hence the
which is
declining
why I
numbers
think
might
the
be justified.
institute takes the level 1 exam 4 times.
हाँ.
हाँ, They take the exam, it's level one exam. I think they take it 4 times in a year.
Correct.
So I think that is the reason that people are more aware now,
Hmm.
which is, and being a US based institute, awareness was stronger. So I think which is the reason for the gap in both earning potential, the kind of opportunities you get. So I think that should explain it. And I hope this keeps getting better. I've seen a change, I've seen a transition in the last 5 years.
Hmm.
So I just hope that, the awareness gets better. There are more people who are inspired, if not by this video or otherwise, and they're willing to take up this course.
Hmm. मैं थोड़ा सा पोक करूंगी आपको, but tell
Huh.
me if it's like true or a rumor. Uh, so this is something that I read online. Even I'm not
Okay.
sure about the authenticity of the source. So the average, the thing is, the sentence that I read was that the average salary of a CFA in US is approximately 1,80,000 dollars per year. Is it true or false, or is it like uh, partially true?
I think I've read this.
Uh-huh.
I have not been able to check the authenticity myself, but I think with the kind of roles, because there's always limited half information we get. I mean, if
Hmm.
this person is a CFA for like say 10, 15 years at a partner level in industry, I won't be surprised. It's a
Hmm.
number I can understand why. हो सकता है, but I don't think I should comment on this because I'm not the best person to do it. But I mean, if you spend enough time in the industry, there is enough potential.
Hmm.
I've read $1 lakh to
Hmm.
150,000 dollars on an average.
Hmm.
And I think if you spend enough time in the industry, again, you do a analysis key how much somebody from a different course earns here. So that is, of course, there is an income disparity. But yes, I think in US people do earn more, probably because
Of
of
course,
their higher salary scale.
yeah,
What I'm trying to say here is it's not the number, but the fact that there is a lot of earning potential here and it's growing in India.
right. एंड पता है क्या मतलब, क्योंकि हम इस 1,80,000 को रुपीस में कन्वर्ट कर रहे हैं
हाँ
एंड
जी।
इंडिया के हिसाब से जो लिविंग स्टैंडर्ड है उससे कंपेयर कर रहे हैं, बट इफ यू गो देयर द लिविंग एक्सपेंसेस ऑब्वियसली
आप
मच
शायद कम
हायर.
सेव करो इंडिया में उतना कमा के वहां पे. You convert that 1 lakh 80 to INR and then you see how much you're saving. You'll probably save more in India. So I think it's a lot of factors that we don't know about. सुना मैंने भी है. I've read it's growing, but let's see.
Okay. So I think this brings us to the end of the podcast, Shivani. But before we end this, share a few learnings from your 8 years of experience in the industry so that people can be well prepared for what's coming ahead for them in their career, and maybe a few learnings that you believe, had you known them better beforehand in your career, you would have like done better. Some knowledge nuggets here.
Okay. I think a couple of things. Um, One, it is very important. It is okay to not know what you want. Your
Okay.
first job, you'll probably just be exploring. It's okay to not like it. It's okay to not know what you want. You don't have to have it figured out.
Hmm.
I did my first job and I was like, बस यही करना है. And then I realized I want to move across also. I want to explore because you just know कि till you've not done it, you don't know if you want to do it or not.
Yeah.
So it's okay to not know.
Hmm.
Secondly, especially for CFA aspirants, there is a lot of work you need to do to bridge your gap, to grow from a networking perspective, to building yourself. Do not get lazy about it.
Hmm.
And I think what I've seen across the industry is your experience, your network makes a lot of difference in life.
Hmm. True.
Because what is going to happen here is every time you, of course, money is a motivator, and every time you want to move across, they're going to ask about your last salary, which is sometimes a pain. I face this personally. Given my last salary, the kind of jumps I got were lower than expected, but you eventually get there. I am here. You don't have to have a BCom, you don't have to have an engineering, you don't have to have an MBA. I'm still here. Of course, I also have felt the brunt of not having an MBA a couple of times in my career,
Hmm.
but I think I'm doing fine.
Oh, you're
So
doing
I
more than fine.
so I think if it's all about being satisfied, you're always going to want more. But I think as long as you're in a place that makes you like what you do, it's
Yeah.
fine. It's a great course. It's a beautiful curriculum. Do not look at it कि मुझे 5 textbook in the subject पढ़ने हैं. Try
Hmm.
liking what you're reading. You will like it, definitely.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Shivani, for taking out time, for sharing your insights, for sharing your knowledge with everyone. And I really, really loved every bit of it. Looking forward to do another one regarding FRM, जिसके ऊपर हम अलग से
Sure,
podcast कर सकते हैं. But yeah, guys, if you have any doubts, let us know in the comments, and you can reach out to Shivani on LinkedIn. She's very sweet, as you may have already gotten the feel of it through this conversation. But yeah, have any doubts, want to consult related to your career, go ahead and reach out to her. She's very sweet.
definitely.
And yeah, let us know what other information would you like to know about CFA or any other course in the comment section. That's all for now. Thank you so much, Shivani, once again.
Thank you so much, Pooja, for having me here. I hope I've inspired, if not more, at least one person today.
Yes.